Hello. Hi, everyone. This is Vasundhara. I'm from QAI, and I would be the coordinator for the day. We'll just wait for 3 more minutes till 3:35. We'll wait for a few more people to join in, and then we'll officially begin. If you all can hear me, can you just write yes in the chat box so that we have your confirmation? All right, so it's 3:35. Let's officially begin, and all the rest of the remaining registrants can keep joining in between. So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the pre-conference webinar of the 18th Annual International Software Testing Conference (STC). The conference is scheduled in Bangalore on 6th of 7th of December, and it's an open invitation to all of you to come and attend the conference. In case if you're interested, do send in your request to stc@qaiglobalcom. And today's webinar is hosted by P Cloudy, our event sponsor. So P Cloudy is a tool which is owned by Smart Software Testing Solutions, and it focuses on streamlining and improving the software development lifecycle by employing manual and automated testing, targeting the accelerated mobile application software space. And before we begin, I would like to introduce you to the speaker of the day, Mr. Avinash Tiwari. He's one of the co-founders of P Cloudy, and he has more than 15 years of experience in product development and testing. He's currently based out of Bangalore and is an alumnus of IIT and MIT. And today, his topic of the webinar would be, will artificial intelligence be another Tesla for software testing in the future? and he would be presenting his views on the future of AI and software testing, and would also ask a very basic question: will there be any boundary drawn between human efforts and AI powered testing in the future? So I'm very excited to listen to Mr. Tiwari and his views on this very interesting topic on AI. So now I'm officially handing all of you over to Mr. Avinash Tiwari.
Okay, thanks, Vasundhara, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining in. It's a real pleasure to be part of a group of experts here, and we are very proud to be associated with STC as one of the title sponsor of the upcoming conference. And if you are around, please feel free to interact with us on our booths, and we are also having demo sessions as well as a keynote. Again, to kind of reiterate who I am, my name is Avinash, and as Vasundhara mentioned, I am one of the co-founder of pcloudy.com, which is one of the fastest growing mobile app testing platforms. Just a clarification, I am going to cover today the topic of webinar, which is moving beyond traditional mobile application testing with the help of AI and DevOps. We'll be talking about more on how AI is going to transform testing as a keynote within the conference. However, you'll get a glimpse of how AI is transforming the testing in today's webinar as well. Feel free to drop in your questions. I'll try to answer as much as we can. So over the next 40 to 45 minutes, we'll talk about how AI is going to transform testing and how DevOps and AI can work together. And last 15 minutes, we'll take up your questions. So to set the agenda, I'll be focusing on three key areas as part of today's webinar. The first one is how digital transformation is impacting the world of mobile applications. And when we talk about mobile application, one of the concepts which is becoming very prominent is quality at speed. And what can we do to take it beyond what you would have already seen? I'm sure all of you must be working in Agile and DevOps mode, but what can we do to take it beyond? And the third part is how pCloudy helps you take it beyond. So what's the surprise here when we talk about AI, DevOps in the context of pCloudy? So with this agenda, I hope you all are settled and we are ready to roll. So let's begin. So are we not living in an amazing time, technology-wise? The world around us is becoming all digital with limitless possibilities. And what does it mean as a consumer is we have access to unlimited goods and services with the help of devices which are connected around us. So as a consumer now, for an example, you can pre-order your coffee, interact with augmented reality in the store, and skip the lines at store with an alternative payment methods. And all these changes which are happening around us is becoming possible because of mobile. It's the tool which is bridging the gap between digital and physical. And the proof of this digital transformation is explosion in the world of apps. So in the first quarter of this year, Apple had more than 2 million apps on App Store. And at the same time, Android users were able to choose between 3.8 million apps. So overall, 5 million plus apps are available today in the market. And it clearly indicates that more and more businesses are adopting mobile apps as their primary channel for business growth. So why organizations are choosing mobile apps as one of their business growth channels? It's not, I mean, they're not thinking, if you look closely, they're not just thinking it as another business channel. What more and more organizations are realizing that it can be a mean to create an awesome customer experience. And there are numerous examples around us. And one example, you can go read in more detail is Starbucks. So the secret to Starbucks app success is that it gives user an intuitive experience, making it really easy for users to find a store around them, order your coffee, make a payment through their wallet, all completely seamless. And recently, Starbucks has also taken the mobile app experience one step further with an innovative conversational ordering system powered by AI. So the point here is more and more organizations are thinking of mobile app as creating an experience for customers which brings loyalty and more business to the organizations. And when we talk about mobile app, it's not just about experience, it's also about speed. Uh, the question here in front of most of the organizations are how quickly can we make a change and let the customer experience it? So the mathematics of velocity matters here. And this kind of demand for market speed has left companies with a complex problem. How do we go faster than we ever have before without losing an eye on the quality? So traditionally, if you look at speed and quality, there is a trade-off, but that's no more the equation right now. The quality and speed has to go together. And there are quite a number of success stories in the world, like Facebook and Netflix. So the Facebook mobile app is updated and refreshed every 2 weeks, like clockwork, and that's a new normal. We'll talk about this example in detail a little later in the webinar, but that's the reality of the world, that you have to bring the changes in your app as quickly as possible and give an experience to the consumer. Okay, so we talked about experience, we talked about speed, and I call this intersection of experience and speed quality at the speed, in more technical terms and more in the terms which is used in the software development life cycle. And it's a no-brainer. It has been discussed threadbare between a lot of experts that quality and speed can be achieved with two fundamental principles. The first one being agile. So agile effectively allows teams to work closely with business, and which in turns pulls the quality forward. So you would have heard this term sift left of quality. So that's what agile brings. It sifts the quality left, and effectively you are delivering small chunks to end consumers on a weekly or monthly basis. So this allows the teams to get feedback early on. When it comes to DevOps, that's the practice which brings you speed. And while Agile is a sift left of quality, DevOps is this sift left of operations. So if I kind of talk a little bit more about what DevOps practice means, it allows you to deploy software automatically on demand at any stage of the software delivery lifecycle. So while in Agile, you are developing fast, but you are still waiting for a period of time before you push the software into production or in the hand of consumers. While DevOps is slightly differs from Agile in the sense that every stage of the software development lifecycle, your software is ready to be delivered. So it truly allows a multiple deployment even in a day. So that's the real difference between Agile and DevOps, and that's where DevOps brings speed within the SDLC. Now, kind of taking this discussion forward on DevOps, when we talk about DevOps, there are two key practices that I'm sure you would have heard about: continuous delivery and continuous integration. But these two cannot work together until we have the third practice, which is the continuous testing. And all these three things have to work in sync like gears. And here, as you see the gear diagram, if one gear stops working, the whole system breaks. So these three things, continuous integration, delivery, and continuous testing, have to work together in sync for the DevOps practice to give benefits within the organization. And whatever we have just discussed, um, it's validated by a lot of independent studies, which has been done by various analysts and various organizations dealing in DevOps. So one data that you see here is extracted from World Quality Report 2017-18, showcasing the popular and best practices followed in DevOps. And if you take a closer look, the two items which are highlighted in red, uh, uh, you'll find that 87% of CIOs and senior tech professionals use or are planning to use a cloud-based test environment. So cloud-based test environment is one area where organizations are spending to bring speed and enable their DevOps. So depending on the choice of the organization, it could be a public cloud or it could be a private cloud, but it definitely is a must if you are thinking about implementing DevOps. And there are various cloud-based test environment for different activities within the testing. For example, automation, mobile testing. Then there are deployment. So there are various different cloud-based environment. But the point is, a cloud-based test infrastructure is definitely needed to bring speed. Now, second data point is about continuous testing, and here as well you can see 80% of the respondents chose this as a preferred DevOps practice. Now, so with this data set and kind of having talked about quality at speed, let's look at a success story here, and we talked about Facebook. So Facebook follows ship early and ship often approach, which is kind of widely adopted by a lot of other organizations once they implemented it successfully. And which means that they update their mobile, so they update their web app multiple times a day, while their mobile apps are updated at a frequency of almost 2 weeks. And they have been able to do it because of early adoption of the DevOps practices, and they were one of the kind of pioneers which started something like DevOps. They don't call it DevOps, but they started quite similar to what is followed today as DevOps practice. And one of the big takeaway for mobile team is their massive investment in device infrastructure. Since I'm talking more about mobile apps here, so I wanted to highlight this point. So as you can see here, they have invested in a device infrastructure of more than 2,000 devices, 2,000 real devices. So every time they make a change to their app, it gets tested on 2,000 real devices. And they have bypassed the use of simulators and emulators. So whether it's their development team or even some of their test teams, while they have both dev and test together, use real devices for any test that they do. So this also validates the fact that we were talking about just earlier from the report, that a cloud-based test infrastructure is very much needed if you're looking at bringing up speed within the organization. It could be in-house or it could be a public. That's the choice of the organization. In case of Facebook, it's in-house. But they have invested significantly on the cloud-based environment for their dev teams to test as and when it's needed. Okay, so at this point, we are sure about role of DevOps in bringing speed to delivery. Now, is mobile app DevOps different than the traditional DevOps? So fundamentally, no, but there are some unique challenges with respect to mobile apps. And the first challenge that I want to highlight here is uh, multi-platform support when it comes to mobile apps. So as we all know, mobile apps do not have a single environmental target, which means that most mobile apps target multiple devices, which means dealing with device fragmentation. And this poses a challenge for ops team to create an optimal device infrastructure. And moreover, these device needs are ever changing. So every day there is a new version or a new device gets launched in the market. So ops teams are struggling to create an optimum device infrastructure to support their teams in making sure that their apps are compatible across a variety of fragmentation that exists in the market. The second challenge is because mobile apps, especially the enterprise mobile apps, typically act as an enterprise front end. So if you look at enterprise apps, these are typically into two categories. The first is business to consumer, and the second could be a business to employee. And in both the cases, typically they have very little business logic on the mobile device itself or mobile app itself. They act as a front end to the enterprise applications already in use by the company. So such as they act as a front end for a transaction processing system or an employee HR system or a customer acquisition system or a sales processing system. And what does this mean is that the mobile apps which needs to be delivered as native or a mobile web app needs to be developed and delivered in conjunction with the backend systems. And this poses a challenge for DevOps to think holistically of all the applications in the enterprise and coordinate their build and release processes and cycles. So mobile app release is not independent. It has to be in sync with release of all other systems. So if you have to bring DevOps for mobile apps, you have to bring DevOps for other systems as well. So that's a challenge for enterprise mobile apps. While typical consumer-facing applications will not have, this challenge as a significant roadblock. The third challenge is posed by the nature of app distribution for mobile applications, and this is because of existence of app stores. So app stores here adds an additional asynchronous step to the deployment process because developers are unable to deploy app updates on demand. And that's one of the key requirements of DevOps, on-demand deployment to production. But here they have to submit the apps to the app store, and then once the review process is complete, then only the app can be published to for end consumers on the app stores. So even for critical bug fixes, you have to wait till the review process is complete. So it's more, it becomes like a submit and wait step. So that's another challenge, which is quite different from mobile apps than traditional applications. And the fourth and the last one here is the build challenge. Now we talked about the multi-platform support of applications, and what it means is you require several different builds of application to be triggered each time a change is made to the application by the developer. So you have an iOS application, you have a Android application, and you make a change and you have to push it to both iOS and Android. You require different build systems. And within iOS itself, you have multiple build systems depending on the iOS versions that you are planning to support. So the build setup and configuration for each supported mobile environment is different from the other. So you would most likely to create a build farm to support all the build triggering and provisioning for your development teams. And that's one of the most complicated tasks. And that is where the cloud-based infrastructure helps here as well, because those cloud-based test infrastructures already have those build farms which can be used as it is, or organizations can choose to create their own build farm. So with these four key challenges, mobile DevOps becomes slightly different than the traditional DevOps, while fundamentally it remains the same. Great. So far we have reached a stage where we discussed about the need of quality at speed, need of Agile and DevOps, and we talked about how mobile apps is different than the traditional DevOps, or what are the unique challenges for mobile DevOps. So we have reached a stage where we can look at a typical mobile DevOps cycle. So let's try to depict this cycle. What you are going to see here is a diagram, and the tools mentioned here are kind of representative set of tools in the respective category, while there are numerous tools available in each category. So the process starts with a developer checking in a code in a versioning system. It could be a Git or other versioning systems. And as soon as the check-in happens or the commit happens, the CI server kicks in and it starts the build process. So we were talking about the build farm. So the CI server will interact with the build farm and trigger the build process of the application. And once the build is complete, unit tests are fired to verify whether the build is correct as far as the unit tests are concerned. And nowadays, more and more organizations are relying on running the unit test on real devices rather than simulators or emulators. So that's the first stage of DevOps. As soon as the build is successful and unit tests are passed, the stage moves to the QA environment. There could be, I mean, the naming of the environment could be different in context of different organizations, but I'm choosing to call it a QA environment. Here, the automated regression tests are triggered automatically again by the CI system. And if the regression tests are passed, the app compatibility tests for new features are done. And again, both the tests are run on real devices, either in-house or on a cloud. And once these two stages are passed, then it's either pushed for production or to an app store submission. So that's a typical life cycle of mobile DevOps. And if you look at closely, and again, just to kind of reiterate, this is a quite simplified version of what you would actually implement within your organization, but it gives you a perspective of what the process looks like. And one important part I wanted to highlight here is importance of testing here. And you can see at each stage, be it development or a QA, continuous testing is happening, and it has to be more and more automated to be for your DevOps process to be successful. So this is what a typical DevOps looks like. Now moving on. So we so far whatever we discussed, it kind of describes the journey till continuous testing. The question is, what next? Is continuous testing enough for us? So as you can see in this diagram, the journey started with classical testing, which was designed for software delivery cycles spanning months or years. Then Agile came into play, which made the development iterative. So there are 2 weeks or a weekly development, and it made the delivery much faster. So the delivery started reaching customers much faster. Now, attempt to accelerate further from what we were seeing in Agile created a chasm between the development, test, and operations. And that gap was filled with DevOps and continuous testing, which we just talked about. So this was a big shift for a lot of organizations to kind of bring DevOps and create deliveries which are on demand. Now, the question is, what is the future, right? What are we seeing beyond continuous testing? Is continuous testing going to be sufficient for us in future? What we have seen as a product organization, and while we are working with a lot of large enterprises, we are seeing need of digital testing. And as we discussed earlier, the speed at which the customers are looking to customers are expecting the applications to be delivered is much higher than what we were seeing earlier, and it's even much higher in case of mobile apps. So to kind of enable digital testing and meet the quality needs of the future, we have to take it to the next level, and this is where AI can help. So this is the journey that we have seen from classical testing to continuous testing so far, and introduction of AI is to take continuous testing to the next level, where we can speed up the continuous testing even further. Great. So we have reached a stage where we understand that the future is in future, if you have to meet the demand of speed, we need to bring in AI, and there is an ongoing debate about what AI can do. And when it comes to testing specifically, a lot of theories have started kind of playing around, predicting that AI has the ability to replace testing. Personally, I'm no oracle to predict, but personally, I don't see this happening in near future. But we certainly are very excited about capabilities AI present in front of us. And this is where I wanted to talk a little further. That as an organization, when we think of AI, using AI to enhance our product and how can we provide more value to our customers, we think on three lines. The first one is, can it improve the speed of current testing process? So, for example, can I use personal assistant for my daily work? So, if I'm using iPhone, I use Siri, or nowadays Google Home. So, these personal assistants are helping me do my job better. Can I have a personal assistant for me while I'm testing? So while I can focus on key areas, my personal assistant can do a lot of other routine work for me. So that is where AI can play a big role. So you can treat AI as your buddy, as your personal assistant when it comes to testing. So that's one key focus area for us in giving the testing team more power when they are performing their task. The second aspect of AI is, can it help generate meaningful data for me to make intelligent decisions? So, for example, if I have an AI system which looks at all the past data of my bugs and crashes in the application, and if there is a new change in the application, can it predict, just run these 100 test cases rather than running all the 1,000 test cases, and then you'll be good. So that will save so much of my time in doing a lot of productive work. So that's just one example of how AI can help in minimizing the testing effort by giving you data. There are so many other ways AI can help, visual comparison and stuff like that. But the whole point is that can it give you meaningful data to make intelligent decisions, and then you can improve the productivity. It will improve the productivity and the quality. And overall, can it improve the test coverage, reduce cost, and speed up my cycle? So these are the three key areas where we see AI helping, and it's going to make us all more powerful in whatever we are doing. Of course, it also means that we have to adopt that technology as quicker as we can, rather than waiting for long and then looking at success of such implementations. We'll have to start experimenting as quickly as possible. So with that thought on how AI can help each one of us in our testing space, I'm moving to the next slide. So as far as the mobile app is concerned, we talked about what we are doing. So the question is, can we use personal assistant for testing? That's the first step of early adoption of AI that you can think of. And we have developed something called Certifier. So are you ready to say, can Certifier, hey Certifier, can you help me test my app? Is the question I'm posing here. Now, before I move forward and show you what Certifier is and what it can do, how can it become your personal assistant, a quick word about what pCloudy is. So I spoke briefly. pCloudy is one of the fastest growing mobile app testing platform, and effectively it provides you real devices on cloud. You can also set up the cloud in-house. It enables continuous testing, and as I have been talking about, it has AI testing capabilities where you can use the system as your personal assistant. It has multiple flavors. So public cloud is one popular flavor that exists, and a lot of customers are using it. And apart from that, we can set up private or on-premise cloud depending on the need of the organization. So with this, I'll just take one more minute to link what pCloudy does in the context of mobile DevOps. So we talked about uh, the developer cycle where they need devices for debugging. So pCloudy comes with a lot of plugins which can sit within the developer ID itself. So whether you are using Xcode or Android Studio, you can start debugging on real devices directly from your IDE. When it comes to unit test, we have support for most of the popular tools like XCTest or Espresso, which can be used by the teams within their mobile DevOps journey. And when it comes to automation testing, pCloudy supports all the popular tools that exist in the market. We also have our own automation engine called Opkey, but we support all the popular tools like Appium or Calabash. And when you are looking at app compatibility testing manually, as I said, we have a cloud with real devices which you can access to check up app compatibility. And lastly, you can also use synthetic monitoring using pCloudy to monitor on production when the app is released to the customers. So we are supporting the organizations in the full cycle of the mobile DevOps journey. Great. So now let's see the action here. So I'm switching my screen. And here I'm logging to the public cloud that we have with the credentials, with my credentials. So while it's login, so now I'm logged into the public cloud. And what you see here are different tabs which exist in the platform. And each tab has its own functionality. I'm not going to detail of it, just a quick snapshot of it. So I'm going to devices tab, which will list down all the devices which exist on public cloud, which can be accessed by any user. So I'm connecting to one of the device here, which is Google Pixel. And once the device is connected, I can use it like a physical device, perform all the actions that I need to do. I can install the app, I can take screenshots, and there are plethora of tools available for you to speed up your manual testing when you are doing it on a device. There is a free trial available. You can just sign up for a free trial and try these features. What I'm interested showing you today here is the AI capability, and for that I am moving to the other tab named Certifier. So here I'm clicking on Certifier, and it takes me to a page called Certifier. And here, what I need to provide to this interface is my app as an input. So here I'll just click on select, and if I have my app uploaded on the platform, I can select the app here. And if my app requires any test data like username, password, I can provide that. I can add more data sets here, and then I can say just run. That's the input which the certifier engine needs. And you can treat certifier like a bot. It's a bot which will take this as an input and start executing the test like an end user. So as I said, this can act like a personal assistant for you, that as soon as the app, there is a change in the app, you can just push it to certifier, and certifier can do a thorough sanity for you while it generates a lot of analytics which you can later use it to either report bugs or provide meaningful information to your dev teams. So you can focus on critical areas of testing and let certifier do all the sanity and high-level regression for your mobile app. So while I've not run it in real time, I'll just show you one of the report that we have generated. So once the run is complete, you will see a report, what I'm showing you right now. So if you look at the summary tab, You can see here a detailed summary of the run which has been executed on this application IMDb, and you can see the score which has been provided to this application CPU as a 5 score out of 10, memory, network, etc. And this test was run on these set of devices. These are 10 devices, and each device has a different configurations in terms of manufacturer and operating system. So bot chooses this device metrics intelligently so that it can cover a broad range of app compatibility needs. And then you can see some of the insights which the bot has generated in terms of, for example, high memory usage found in Motorola Moto Play. So that's a warning from the bot perspective. So you can look at this data and say, okay, this looks to be a problem. Let me go and analyze it deeper. And if you want to analyze deeper, you can go into these tabs like exploratory bot test, where you can see the report on each device. So exploratory bot test was run on Galaxy Grand Max and Galaxy S6. I can go and drill down at each device level and see what exactly happened. And if I just expand these tabs, I can see the full detail of the data generated, like battery, memory, CPU, frame rendering, network chart, and also I'm just trying to scroll down, and also I can see all the snapshots which has been generated. So you can see all the snapshot which has been generated. So this snapshot will give you an indication of what was the flow which was executed by the bot. We are working on the next level feature where it will list down all the scenario it executed. But right now you'll see a bunch of screenshots, and by looking at the screenshot, you'll be able to figure out what are the flows which the bot has executed so far. And while this execution was happening, it has captured all sorts of data: battery, memory, CPU, network, frame rendering, etc. So now you can analyze, okay, there was a point where the CPU was higher. This is the timestamp. And at that timestamp, what exactly was happening, I can find out through the snapshot. So I can go and link all this data and then analyze if this is a bug, I need to talk to my developer, or this is an acceptable behavior. So that analysis has to be done by the end user. And this is where the difference between AI and human comes into play. So with this bot, we have been able to generate so much of data in a very short period of time. But the final analysis of what needs to be reported as a bug ultimately has to be done by human. So as a tester, we need to learn to analyze this data which has been generated, but final analysis has to be done by human. And that's where the difference and the boundary lies between AI and humans. So with this, let me just also show you how a lot of organizations have been using Certify within their DevOps cycle. Great. So I've switched to a different screen here, and what you see here is the Jenkins interface, which is the CI server used by a lot of organizations. And here, what you see is one of the Jenkins Job, Android build test pcloudy, and that job basically does two things. The first step, it does create the build as soon as any change is pushed to the versioning system, which is Git here. And once the change is done and the build is created, it automatically triggers the certifier run. And once the certifier run is complete, the result is pushed back to the developer. So now Certify is closely integrated with your DevOps, where as soon as you make a change, not only you can run your unit test, you can run a certifier test, which will give you a larger perspective on the functionality of the application, whether that's working fine or not. So let me just take you to the detail of this job. So we're just going through the configuration part of it, and I'll show you what the job does here. So I click on configuration. And here you can see it's linked to the repository, which is the GitHub repository. Right. So basically, as soon as a change is made, it will pull all the changes from the Git and create a build. And so this is the Git repository detail and the credentials of the Git, and which branch it should pick it up from. So it's picking up from master, but all these are configurable. Your ops team can do that. And the next step here is the build system. So we were talking about various build systems. Of here we are using Gradle, which is one of the most popular build system for Android. For iOS, it's different. But if you're using Android app, Gradle is one of the most popular. So here we are providing where will the build system or the build get stored. And then what you see here is the certifier session schedule. So now once the build is created, it will trigger the certifier session, and we are providing the credentials to trigger the certifier session here. So this is the credential of the cloud for the user who has configured this. And then as the next step, we are providing some more command line paths to trigger the certifier session. So this is just a one-time configuration for this job. And you can see here it is taking the application path, which will get which it will get from the build system. And then as soon as the certifier session is complete, we are posting it to Slack channel. Because a lot of our customers are using Slack. It can be also linked to Jira or other test management systems. So here in this example, the result will get posted to Slack once the certifier session is complete. And we have to provide a session name. So we have provided Jenkins Job as a session name here. So this is the configuration of the Jenkins Job. So once this configuration is saved, you are all good to go. And this is a one-time configuration. So now we are trying to execute the build, execute the job, and right now we are doing it manually. But in a real situation, the build will get triggered as soon as any change is made to the Git system, because it does automatic polling. And once the build is triggered, once the job is triggered, you can see the result in the console output here. So first thing you see here is it is pulling the source from the Git to trigger the build system. And yeah, let it run. You'll start seeing. So you can see here build is successful. So Gradle has executed the build and the build has been created, which means the new version of the app is there. And as soon as that happens, you can see successful scheduling of the certifier session. And then you can, if you want to monitor the progress, you can do that. But once it's completed, you can see the link available here. And once I click the link, it will directly open the result that we saw as one of the sample certifier report. So here, this report is also posted to the Slack channel, as you can see. And it's all automated, seamless. And as I said, it can be configured to be posted on Jira or other tools as well. So we talked about this report. So this is a similar report that we saw earlier as well. So what you saw just now here as one of the example is a full integration within the DevOps system. So as soon as the developer makes a change, a certifier bot will get triggered, and the result will be available for everyone to see. So not only you are getting the result from the unit test perspective, you're also getting the result from a functional perspective. And it's all happening without writing any single line of code. Certify as a bot needs only app as an input, and if there are some test data requirements, that as an input. So even if your apps are changing, your UI is changing, you don't need to worry about changing the script in your automation and uh, any other change to be done. You just need to provide the app as an input, and the bot will take care of it. Of course, the bot is becoming more and more intelligent as we are creating newer versions, but you will get a comprehensive report like the way I showed within a very short period of time, within 10 to 15 minutes, if you use Certifier as one of the bots for your testing. So with this, I'll go back to the slide and we'll try to conclude. So just to summarize what we discussed today, the digital age is forcing us to test smarter. We can't continue to use the old methods. And in that process, continuous testing is the first step. But that's not going to solve the need of the future. With the demand of speed becoming more and more vociferous, effective use of AI can take the continuous testing to the next level. And as I said, AI can make you more powerful if you start adopting it early. And Cloudy as a product is at the forefront of innovation to keep you ahead. So with that thought, thanks a lot for all of you for joining in and listening patiently. Feel free to just drop in your question. I'll try to take it as much as you as I can, or else we'll try to answer it individually after the webinar is over through email. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Avinash. That was a fantastic session. And till now, I have 3 questions from Mukesh Dhingra. Do you want me to shoot away right now and address them?
Okay, you can do that.
All right. So the first question is, do we need to write the test cases for sanity testing in Certifier?
No. So Certifier is a self-driving, self-healing bot. So you just need to provide your app as an input. You don't need to write any script. As I said earlier, at max you need to provide the test data if your application has certain specific test data requirements. But otherwise, you don't need to write any script. We are coming up with another version of Certifier where you can uh, choose to run specific scenarios where you can. So in that case, you'll have to just navigate through your application to train Certifier to be able to focus on certain specific scenario rather than being totally exploratory, which is the case right now. So hope
All
I
right.
answered.
Yes, and is Certifier compatible with iOS devices?
So right now it's only for Android applications. We are coming up with iOS very soon. Within a quarter's time, the iOS version also will get released. So right now it can be used for Android applications, native or hybrid, but iOS will be available soon.
All right, and all the best for that, Avinash. Now, Deepa Kumar wants to know that how to configure Certifier job to customize as per our test requirements.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's similar to what the question was asked earlier by Mukesh. So Certifier does not need any configuration right now. It's an exploratory bot as of today, where it will explore through all possible paths within the application. So as soon as you trigger the Certifier run, it's going to explore through all possible paths within the application. However, as I said, we are coming up with a feature where you can focus on, where you can configure Certifier to focus on certain specific scenarios. But again, it will not be a script writing kind of technology. It will be about just training the bot to be able to focus on scenarios by just navigating through certain paths that you would like. So right now it's exploratory and it's going to cover all possible paths within the application.
All right, so we have a question from Herb. He wants to know that do you support foreign language configurations on the devices?
Yes. So our devices, you get full access to devices. You can go to settings, you can change the language, you can change all other setting parameters. You can switch between Wi-Fi, cell phone networks. So pretty much everything that you do it on a physical phone, you can do it on our devices as well. So yes, to answer your question, you can do that. Great. Uh, so just to kind of close the session, I'll take one last question here, and if there are more, we'll try to answer individually through email. So one question here is from Amit Kumar. Um, is let me Okay. So the question is around automation part of it, how automation and certifier can work together. So just to kind of explain slightly in detail what I was talking about during the mobile DevOps journey, now more and more organizations are using certifier as their exploratory sanity test, which is complementary to what they do as part of the regression tests. So regression tests are well-defined scenarios, while exploratory tests uh, are more like end user doing activities as soon as they get some app, right? So you're not training your user to follow certain paths. So as soon as they get an app, they will try different actions, and that's where a lot of bugs are found. If you follow a path, the bugs are skipped. But if you follow certain random behavior of the application, a lot of bugs are discovered. So Certifier is working as a complementary piece along with automation and manual testing for a lot of organizations. So that is where I've been kind of talking about use of Certify as your personal assistant, where you can focus on scenarios which are more complex, which requires human thinking in terms of business logic, but Certify can take care of all other tasks in terms of ensuring your app is compatible for every change that happens. There are no major breakages happening in the app for any change. So that certifier can ensure for you, and you can focus on other important critical scenarios.
Thank you so much, Avinash. I think it's already time for us to wrap up. And there are about 4, 5 questions which are still in line. So you can take out time and answer them individually. And
Sure.
to all the attendees, we'll be sending you an email with the link of the recorded session of the webinar and the answers from Avinash himself with all the questions which were not taken up right now. So just wait for a couple of days, a day or two, and you'll have all the details in your inbox. In case for any queries, drop in your email to stc@qaiglobal.com. And thank you so much for taking out time and joining Avinash and QAI for this informative webinar.
Thank you so much. Thanks a ton. Feel free to drop any mail to us if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Avinash. Take care.